All right, everybody, welcome back. I have another video for you today titled Why Women Don't Like Good Men. This ought to be good. Let's jump into it.
Hi, guys. The majority of women out here were never taught what a good man looks like. They were never shown the true blueprint and inner workings of a good man. A lot of women didn't grow up with strong, positive role models, so it makes it damn near impossible for them to actually be able to identify one. A lot of this
I'm going to stop you early, very early, because this excuse boils my blood. I hate that excuse when somebody says, oh, I didn't grow up with it, or oh, I didn't have this around me. Listen, that's good for children. That's good for teenagers. I'll at the tail end, maybe a young adult. But after around 17, 18, where you realize that I'm in an unhealthy environment, it's up to you to figure out what is right and what is wrong. And here's another reason why I don't accept that as an excuse. Because if you were like any other child, you were watching TV, you were watching cartoons, you were watching movies, and these three things are designed socially to teach you right from wrong at a very basic level. TV shows, cartoons, movies, they all have what is called a protagonist, the hero. They all have an antagonist, the villain. And so you can't tell me that you've never seen a good example of a good man and a bad man. It's impossible. And listen, this isn't even racially exclusive because every race has their version of this. Listen, if you're black, you know about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You know about the Cosby Show. You know about the Proud Family. Each one of these things had a family dynamic that had a good, strong father role model. And of course, they had the antagonist. And so you can't tell me that these things didn't exist. And if you're white, you have things like Modern Family. You have things like 70s Show. And of course, a slew of others. If you know one, put one in the comments. Listen, they exist. And so you can't tell me that I've never seen it before. You've seen it. You just didn't care. You didn't pay attention. I'm sick and tired of people ignoring female nature only when they use their nature and it's been had horrible experiences with them. How many times have we heard the trope where good girls chase the bad boys? How many times? A lot of times, and they still do it. And then after they get into an abusive relationship or a relationship where it's horrible, they want to cry back to society and say, well, I didn't know, I was just young and dumb. And it's like, we've been telling you this for a long time. I'm tired of people pretending that these people, women specifically, are dumb. They're not dumb. And I'm tired of people treating them like they're dumb.
has to do with the female liberation movements that sold them lies. The feminist movement got their mothers, and the Me Too movement got them. They have little to no personal examples of good men. So they seek out society and social media to teach them what a good man looks like and what a good man actually is. And what does social media do and society?
And I'm going to push back on that because I just want to know, if you're going to social media, if you're going to all these places, the YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all these things have search bars. How many of these women out here have typed in, what is a good man? I can guarantee you it's a very small, a minuscule amount. What does a good dad look like? I bet you could search things up. And the thing about the internet is there's pockets of everything. There's subcultures within subcultures. You could find good family content, healthy, strong family content, and you can find its opposite. And I can guarantee you that in their algorithm, the person who is the antagonist, the person who is doing all of the bad things that promote degeneracy, I can guarantee you these people are getting more clicks, there's getting more plays, he's getting more follows by the average person simply because of something of vanity, whether it's because they look good, whether it's because they're really smart, or maybe the girl that they're dating is very attractive. Right? Let's stop pretending that human beings are the dumbest people on the planet. We know exactly what it is that we're doing and the type of content that we consume.
They glorify the exact opposite of a good man. And these women fall for the trap because that's all they have to go off of. They get fed images of violence, arrogance, and womanizers as the ideal of manliness. They're shown men who are valued for their wealth and physical strength rather than their integrity and masculinity. So when you come along leading by example of what a good man actually is and what it really entails is foreign to them, and they go into fight or flight mode. The bad thing about going into fight or flight mode is that most people choose to flee instead of fight because it's easier to run away and avoid unfamiliar and uncomfortable situations instead of confronting them head on. By simply existing and being yourself as a good man, you're introducing her to a world that's so far removed from her reality and every single thing that she's been conditioned to believe.
Not conditioned to believe what she wants to believe. You understand? That's the thing she said. She said there's a fight or flight response. There's a fight and flight response to a lot of things because most of these girls who have had the bad boys damn near their whole life, they've been in horrible situations. There wasn't no flight then. There was freeze because they stayed with these men. You understand? They had children with these men. Now all of a sudden she knows how to flee at the right moment, but then a good guy comes along and then now she's like, oh, I can stay here. Come on, man. This is the thing that is like a lot of guys are waking up. We're no longer falling for the okie doke. We understood that you had a real decision to make, and instead of listening to your elders or people who knew better than you or people who were wise, what you decided to do was listen to society and your little friends who told you that the guy who decided to work the blue collar job or the white collar job and provide for his family, he was lame. Remember him? And again, this is another thing. What usually happens is people do not ask the people who got left behind, the lame guys. These guys exist. And these guys got on the internet and said, yeah, I remember when I liked this girl and she chose Thug Nasty over there over me. Let's not pretend like that didn't happen. But they're saying, oh, it's because I didn't have a proper male role model. Come on, bro. Let's be honest. We know what it is.
Her initial response is confusion, and then her second response is to reject it. A common defense mechanism that these women will use is self-sabotage by creating self-fulfilling prophecies because they believe they're not worthy of a good man. See, the thing is,
And again, that's another thing. This is the thing that's really getting me going is people will say things and on the surface you're like, dang, I kind of feel bad about that, but they're not telling you what caused it in the first place. You know why she doesn't believe that she's good enough for a good man? Because she was not a good person. She wasn't a good person. She met plenty of good men her whole life. And guess what she did? She crapped on them. She made fun of them. She rejected them. She stood them up. She led them on. So of course, when she goes to somebody who's like, bro, I'm trying to give you love, she's like, I feel like I'm not deserving of this, because she's not deserving of it. Because the people who would give her that in her past, she doo-dooed on them for the other people who were doo-dooing on her. I need to change that word, but you get what I'm saying. So I've always wondered, like, what do you mean you don't think you deserve it? It's because most people who go down this path treated good people like garbage. And so they believe in their heart of hearts that they don't deserve that person, which they don't.
most women want a good man. Most women want to be treated right. Nobody.
When? Is it after they got all the debauchery out the way or beforehand? Because I can guarantee you they want the debauchery first, then they want the good man. We see it. We see it.
Goes through life saying, yeah, I want to be treated like shit today. But if that's what you're used to and what you're familiar with, then you start to equate it to love. I've literally had women come to me and say that a man doesn't love them if he doesn't hit them because they equate physical violence to love. They equate jealousy to love. They equate control to love because this is all they've known. At the end of the day, these are all the same, though. They're trauma responses. And depending on who you are and what type of person you are, you might feel the urge to step in and save her or prove how much of a good man you are to her in an effort to show her how things could be with you. However,
Right. And a lot of good guys have fallen for this over the past decade. And the reason is, like I said earlier, all you're getting from these people are the surface. Oh, I wasn't taught I didn't have a father in my life, or I didn't have a community. Oh, I was in a bad relationship in the past. They're giving you all this sob story, which any good person would be like, oh man, I have empathy for that person. I feel bad for that person. But what they're hiding from you is they had a decision to say, which path am I going to go down, knowing which path, where those paths end, and they still chose the bad path because they thought they were different or special and that it wasn't going to happen to them. And then when it happens to them, now they want sympathy, now they want compassion. It's like, no, you made your decision.
Remember this, you are not obligated to be anyone's educator, especially when you've got your own battles to fight, your own growth, personal growth to focus on, your own path that you're walking. Staying true to who you are unapologetically, focusing on your future, bettering yourself, and leveling up in life, these are your task at hand. Because while the right woman can definitely accelerate your path because she's an asset to your life, the wrong one will derail you and slow you down because she's a liability to your life.
And I 100% agree with that. I think because of the dating options that are happening right now, a lot of guys are in this desperate state. I had this running theory, and I just want to give you guys a quick example of this. I call it the LA actor. Right. So a lot of people like, oh, I'm going to fly to California. I'm going to be an actor. I'm going to be a superstar. Where do the majority of those people end up? Waiting tables, bussing tables, doing some type of odd jobs as they're trying to get their big break. Well, what happens is you're going to go down there saying, you know what, I'm not doing any weird scenes. I'm not doing any of these types of movies. I want to do this, just this. Well, after about 4, 5, 6, 7 years of no work, you start to get a little desperate. And that's exactly where they want you, because they're going to say, hey, we have a role for you. And you're so excited because this could potentially be your big break. But guess what? It's a horrible role. It's a role that if you see, you're going to be ashamed to show the people who you loved and respected back home. But guess what? You don't want to go back a failure, and you're desperate enough to say, you know what? This might just be a stepping stone for me. And so they do the work. And I think a lot of guys are in this position now where they're so deprived of the things that they should be getting that when they actually get a little something, they're like, you know what, forget it, I'll take it. And guess what? That's how you end up being a really good man, getting with somebody who's not a good woman, and you end up getting taken to the cleaners in the worst way.
It's not your job to patch the cracks from a woman's inadequate childhood or flawed upbringing. Remember that. It's not your job to try and undo the warped stories that she's digested and accepted as universal truths. You're not expected to instantly transform a woman's perspective on life. That's not your job. That's hers. Because let me remind you, the average life expectancy of men worldwide is 72. And that's on the long end of the spectrum. Do you know how short 72 years is? Meaning you don't have the luxury of wasting time trying to re raise someone. If she does not come to you, at least willing to admit her flaws and, more importantly, willing to actually work on herself, you're wasting your time. Because in order for you to make it work with a woman like this, she has to be willing to put in the work on herself and willing to trash certain parts of her beliefs and behavior that have been constructed through years and years and years of societal conditioning and social media bombardment. Your ultimate goal is to keep being you unapologetically and authentically, to continue evolving and growing and pursuing your ambitions, because in doing so, you'll raise the bar along with your standards and expectations. Remember that staying true to who you are doesn't mean that you have to fit into someone else's definition of what they feel like a good man is. It means living life according to your principles, regardless of whether they align with societal norms or not. And if your authenticity makes other people uncomfortable, remember that it's not your responsibility to adjust your identity to fit their comfort zone either.
And so I'm going to agree with that as well, because what a lot of guys do is they get hurt and then they immediately shut down. They stop being the person that not only they like, but other people like. And I'm suggesting that, especially in your manhood, what you want to do is you want to be unapologetically yourself. And then the moment either somebody tries to come into your life or a woman tries to come into your life, if she isn't the type of person that enables that in a positive way, or she doesn't inspire you to make you want to be a better man, if she's trying to change you, immediately cut that off. If she's not appreciating you, immediately cut that off. Because again, you want somebody around you who's going to amplify who you are, not try to change who you are for the worse. Now, of course, a good woman around you is going to want you to change for the better. You know what I'm saying? She's not going to want you to change just because it's to appease her. We know the difference. What do you guys think? Do you think she was spitting facts? Let me know down in the comments. And with that, I'll see y'all in the next one. All right. Peace out.